One of the things that we've been seeing for years, Eric's been a big proponent of getting board members certified, and I've been right behind him with that support. What I've realized is what we've said for years is if you don't have time to take a 4-hour course, then really you don't have the time to serve on a board of directors. And that's just the truth. You know, there's so much that goes into it. There's so many complexities, and with the right partnership, it doesn't feel like it's so complex, but it's important for at least for you to understand from a 30,000-foot perspective that there is things that you are responsible for, and you need to work in unison with those that serve the community. Additionally, if that was the issue, which I could see it being an issue because I know that was brought up to Eric many times, well, we don't want to take the course, we don't want to do this. Eric puts on phenomenal courses, and people are still showing up. He just did a one, I think, in Broward or in Palm Beach, where I think you had how many, Eric? Like 300 or 400 people. 400, yeah. So it goes to speak of the importance of education. And believe it or not, what I'm finding is that board members are actually attending more than one course. They're attending just to go understand, you know what, I want to get a better understanding of that. And lastly, is I have found it that board members that are certified, it's much easier to work with because now they understand how much we do and how much we support them and the importance of what we do as a management company as well. And then the same token, not a knock on Eric, but everyone always says, oh, the attorney bill's too much. Now they're looking at a different perspective. This is a cost of doing business. We do need to call the attorney to get an opinion so that at least to ensure that what we're doing is the right thing. Because before it was, what do you have to call the attorney? You should know the answers to this as a management company. And that's not necessarily the case of how things work.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that when you think about it, in order to get on a board of directors, you don't have to be an attorney, you don't have to be an accountant, you don't have to be a community association manager. So people take on these very sophisticated jobs. Some associations have budgets of 7 figures, 8 figures, and they don't have no business experience whatsoever. So this educational opportunity that's there for them, we all think it's a fantastic thing.
100%.
Yeah, but you guys say it from your perspective.
Yeah.
I guess my job here is also be the voice of the homeowners, the HOAs. So what is in it for me? Like, what do I learn in those courses? What do I get out of it? Because, yeah, it sounds so fun and games. It's like, let's take a class. I mean, yes,
I can
and...
take that
I'll let you,
So, I mean, like, what is it in it for me? Because for you, you have people who understand things better. You know, for you, it's easier to, it's easier for you guys, but why do I have to take it?
I think, at least when I teach the course, it makes it very clear to people that if you're going to take this job, if you're going to get on the board of directors, you better take the job very seriously, right? For example, we teach them that if you're going to be on the board and you're just going to do it to save money for the community, and you're going to do things like ignore safety concerns, right? Then this happens all the time.
Okay.
Right? If you're going to ignore safety concerns, guess what? If someone slips and falls on the community, on the community floor, let's say, a common element floor, right? And you've ignored that time and time again. Well, you learn in this course that if the association gets sued, you're going to get sued in your individual capacity, and the money that you have in your personal bank account, that's going to potentially be taken from you. I think that's pretty important to learn, right?
Yeah.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
But what other things are there in those classes? Like, I'm assuming there's like a syllabus or something.
Yep.
What can people expect when they take these courses?
Yes. I'll let Eric touch up on that because Eric has a full program.
Sure.
So why don't you touch a little bit
There's
on
all
that?
kinds of things that they're required to do by law. They learn about how to do the year-end financial reports, and if they don't do year-end so that everybody knows in the community that money isn't getting stolen, for example. An accountant has to do these year-end reports. Pretty important. If they don't do it, then they can get in huge trouble from the Department of Business and Professional Regulation. They learn all the new laws that gets passed every single year. Things change quickly in condos and HOAs. So they learn what they can do and they can't do every year. That changes back and forth going forward. They learn about the foreclosure process, right, and how that's done. And they learn about how the foreclosure process is probably going to get a lot worse, at least in condominiums. Why? Because we have new safety regulations as a result of the terrible incident that happened at the Champlain Towers. Tremendous amount of new laws, and they better learn that right? Safety inspections, mandatory reserve, mandatory repairs, and the trouble they can get into if they don't do that. If there ever was a year for condominium board members to go to school, this is the year.
Correct. And even to add to that, there's things, for instance, of learning of the importance of insurance. You know, many times it happens, this will happen more in condos, but, you know, residents don't know any better where, oh, I'm covered with, I have insurance because the association pays the insurance. But they don't realize that they need a separate policy for their individual unit. Why is that important? Because if there's a flood in between units, yes, the condo, depending on what the documents read, will cover the unfinished surface of the wall. But residents then believe that the baseboards, the flooring, the painting on the wall, the kitchen, oh, the association's going to fix it. But in reality, they're not. So in these courses, they're taught on the importance of not just insurance, all the insurance requirements they should have, like D&O, directors and officers, having a fidelity bond insurance and so forth. But it also gives a glimpse into, don't stop there. You should be communicating to your residents, especially in the condos, that they should have these additional insurance. So it's kind of, think of it as peeling back a little bit of what happens behind the curtain of managing a community association and its importance. And then also through those courses, we're able to talk of some of the challenges of dealing with residents and how you need to deal with it. I think the safety is what's most important, for at least for us, because as Eric mentioned, if you have someone that has mentioned twice at a board meeting the sidewalk's broken, and that's on the minutes, and all of a sudden a person trips and falls, you're finding yourself in a very difficult situation. And now you have a prolonged lawsuit that's taking you away because you're having to provide records, provide information from the vision that you and your board originally had for getting on the board. So it can seem like daunting, why would I have to do this? But once they're in there and they're getting a glimpse of what it's all about, I think that's where they really gain the value and how to become, at the end of the day, a better leader for their community.
Sure.